All right, so we're diving deep today
Mm-hmm.
into something I think a lot of people are really interested in,
Yeah.
which is, of course, improving English speaking skills.
Right.
And you sent us this YouTube video called How to Improve Your English
Yep.
from HCT English.
Yeah.
And it is jam-packed with tips.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, we're talking 40 tips in
Right.
one video.
It's a lot to get through.
So we're going to try to pull out some of the best ones for you guys today.
Yes, absolutely.
But I will say one of the ones that kind of made me chuckle when I saw it
Okay.
was talking to your pet in English.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
I mean, I think that speaks to a bigger theme in the video, which is just like making English a part of your everyday life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about sitting down
Right.
and studying.
Yeah.
It's about finding ways to incorporate it naturally
Okay.
into your daily routine.
So it's more about just like weaving it in.
Yes, exactly.
Bit by bit.
Consistency is key.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So not like cramming,
It's not about cramming at all.
but more about like a lifestyle.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
how do you get fit? You don't just go to the gym one day and expect to be like super ripped.
Right, yeah.
You have to do it regularly, consistently.
Okay.
And it's the same with language learning.
Got it.
It's those small, regular habits that really make the difference.
Cool.
So some of the things that they recommend doing every day are, practicing with friends or family if you can.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everyone has that opportunity, but if you do, definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Listening to English music or podcasts.
Okay.
And then maybe, instead of just passively listening,
Yeah.
try speaking along.
Yeah.
Almost like karaoke, but for language.
That's fun.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
So you're actually training your mouth
Yeah, so
to make the sound.
you're like getting that muscle memory going.
Exactly. Exactly.
Good.
Cool.
And getting used to the rhythm of the language.
I like it.
Yeah, and another thing they talk about is mimicking native speakers.
Okay.
So, when you're listening to something,
Yeah.
try to really pay attention to how they're pronouncing words, their intonation, the
Oh, yeah.
rhythm, the flow.
Like you're kind of embodying it.
Exactly. You're embodying it. You're not just reciting words.
Yes. Yeah.
You're trying to really become the language.
Cool.
And it might feel silly at first, but it's a really effective way to learn.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's way more engaging than just reading out of a textbook, that's for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
And speaking of things that are maybe outside the textbook, they also talk about using a mirror to practice.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about this one?
I think it's a great idea.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm literally looking at myself in the mirror.
You're looking at yourself in the mirror.
You're talking.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it feels a little awkward.
It can feel a little strange at first, but
Yeah. The benefit is that you get instant visual feedback.
Right.
You can see how your mouth is moving.
Yeah.
You can see your facial expressions.
yeah,
And that can really help you to improve your clarity.
it's kind of like having a free
Yeah.
personal trainer,
Exactly.
but for your English speaking.
Exactly.
Wow, okay.
Like sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing certain things with our mouths when we speak.
Right.
Like maybe you're not opening your mouth wide enough.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're mumbling a little bit. And the mirror can really help you to see those things and correct them.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to use a mirror.
Okay.
It's a really powerful tool.
Okay. I'll try it.
All right.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Sounds good.
Now this one also kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Okay.
Thinking in English.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I always thought of that as something that
Yeah.
way down the line when you're like
Right.
super fluent. You can do that.
Right, yeah.
But they're suggesting that you can actually start doing that now,
Absolutely.
even as a beginner.
Yeah, you don't have to be fluent to start thinking in English.
Okay.
They recommend starting small.
Okay. Like how?
Just label things around you in your head.
Okay.
So, you see a chair, you think chair.
Good.
You see a table, you think table.
Yeah.
Just simple things like that.
Yeah.
And as you get more comfortable,
Yeah.
you can start thinking in more complex sentences.
Okay.
But the key is to just start doing it.
Right.
Don't wait until you feel like you're ready.
Just jump in.
Just jump in
All right.
and start thinking in English as much as possible.
I like it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point for language learning in general.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait until you feel like you're perfect or you know everything.
Yeah.
Just start using the language as
Yeah.
much as you can,
Yeah.
and you'll learn as you go.
So it's like getting out of your head
Yes.
and just like,
you
do
bet.
it.
It's all about action.
Yeah.
Taking action.
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to another big theme that they talk about in the video,
Okay.
which is not being afraid to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
This is a big one for me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking another language,
Mm-hmm.
I get so flustered when I mess up.
Yeah.
But they're saying that that's actually like
It's part of the process.
part of the process.
It's essential, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because if you're not making mistakes,
Yeah.
you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. You're probably staying in your comfort zone
Right.
and not really learning anything new.
So it's like those mistakes are actually like
There are opportunities to grow.
exactly.
Okay.
So embrace the mistakes.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of them.
Got it.
And actually, they give some really practical tips
Okay.
for how to deal with mistakes.
Like what? Give me some examples. One thing they recommend is recording yourself speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It can be a little painful.
Yeah, it is.
Hear your own voice.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly useful because you can actually hear where you're stumbling,
Right.
which words you're mispronouncing,
Yeah.
and, what areas you need to work on.
It's so eye-opening.
It is. It is.
It's like, wow, that's what I sound like.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try that. All right.
So, yeah, recording yourself is a great one.
Well.
And then they also talk about joining online language learning communities,
Okay.
which can be a great way to practice with other people,
Right.
get feedback from others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a less intimidating environment than maybe speaking to a native speaker one-on-one,
Right.
especially if you're just starting out.
So you're like getting that,
Yeah, you're getting the
that
support
system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're learning from each other's mistakes as well.
Cool. I like that.
It's a great way to connect with other learners.
Okay. And kind
Yeah.
of build that community.
Exactly.
Popular.
So, yeah, lots of great tips in there about,
Yeah.
Embracing the mistakes
Right. Yeah.
and using them as opportunities to learn.
Awesome.
And speaking of expanding your world,
Yeah.
they also talk about experiencing English in different contexts.
Okay.
They really emphasize the importance of actually using the language in real-world situations,
Right.
not just studying it.
Right. Like not just in the classroom.
Exactly. Not just in the classroom,
Yeah.
but actually going out there and
Yeah.
using it to communicate.
Okay.
So obviously, traveling to an English-speaking country is
Yeah.
a great way to do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you can. Right.
Yeah, if you can.
If you have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Because it forces you to use the language.
it does.
To get by, to order food,
Yeah.
to ask for directions.
Yeah. It pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
But they also acknowledge that,
Right.
not everyone can travel.
Not everyone can travel.
Right.
So they give some really good tips
Yeah.
for how to create that immersion experience
Okay. Like what?
at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, they recommend joining an English-speaking club
Right.
or meetup in your city.
Okay. Yeah.
Even if it's just once a week,
Yeah.
you're getting that opportunity
Right.
to practice speaking with other people in a more casual setting.
Okay.
Or even something as simple as
Yeah.
switching your phone or
Yeah.
your social media settings
Okay.
to English.
Got it.
You're constantly surrounded by the language,
Right.
even if you're just scrolling through your feed.
Yeah, it's like you're tricking your brain into
Exactly.
absorbing the English.
It's passive learning,
Yeah.
but it's still very effective.
Okay.
And the video makes a great point about
Yeah.
why that exposure is so important.
It's because English isn't just one thing.
Right.
It's a whole world
Yeah.
of different accents,
Right.
dialects, ways of speaking.
It's true. Yeah.
So the more you expose yourself to those different variations,
Mhm.
the better you'll be able to understand and communicate with
Right.
people from all over the world.
Okay.
And they even encourage you to learn about different cultures
Right.
as part of your language journey.
So it's like going beyond just the words, but understanding like the context.
It's about understanding the context, the
Mhm.
culture,
Mm-hmm.
how people actually use the language in different situations.
Okay.
It's not just about the grammar rules.
Yeah.
It's about the real world usage.
It's like how to actually play the game, not just the rules.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, we've covered quite a bit already.
We have.
But there's so much more.
Yeah, there's so much more.
So I'm excited to keep going.
Let's dive back in. Okay. So another tip that they give is to use flashcards. Okay. Yeah.
Now, I know flashcards can get kind of a bad rap.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought those were like
Right.
old school.
Old school, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day when we were in grade school.
Exactly.
But actually, they can be really effective
Oh, well.
if you use them the right way.
Okay.
So how do you use them the right way?
Yeah, tell me, because I'm picturing like,
Yeah.
the word on one side,
Right.
definition on the other.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
But to make it even more effective,
Okay.
try adding an example sentence.
Okay.
So you're not just learning the word in isolation,
Right.
you're seeing how it's actually used in context.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, and another thing you can do
Yeah.
is instead of writing the definition,
Mhm.
try drawing a picture.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you're learning the word apple,
right.
draw a picture of an apple.
Okay.
It's amazing how much that can help with memory.
Yeah, like tapping into different parts of your brain.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's more visual, it's more engaging.
Yeah.
And flashcards are also great because they're so portable.
Right. You can just like
Take them anywhere.
take them with you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can be waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
You can be on your lunch break.
Mhm.
You can just pull out your flashcards and do a quick review.
Cool.
It's a great way to make use of those little pockets of time throughout your day.
Yeah, I like that.
Speaking of things that you can do anytime, anywhere,
Okay.
remember we talked about recording yourself speaking?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know for some people this can be a little cringy,
It is. It is.
but it's so
Oh,
helpful.
really?
Yes, because you can hear those mistakes
There-
that you might not even be aware of.
So it's bringing that self-awareness up.
Exactly. Yeah, so you can hear where you're stumbling, which
Mhm.
words you're mispronouncing,
Uh-huh.
where your grammar is a little shaky.
Yeah.
And then once you've identified those areas,
Yeah.
you can use all the amazing resources that are out there
Right.
to really work on those specific things.
Like what kind of resources?
Well, I mean, there are so many language learning apps these days.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, but it's
Yeah.
also really exciting because
Exciting.
it means that you have so many options.
Yeah.
You can find apps
Mm-hmm.
that focus on specific skills.
Okay.
Like if you're really struggling with pronunciation,
Right.
there are apps that are specifically designed to help you with that.
Wow.
Or if you need to build your vocabulary,
Yeah.
there are apps for that too.
Cool.
And a lot of these apps use really cool technology,
Mm-hmm.
like voice recognition,
Right.
to give you feedback in real time.
It's pretty amazing, I gotta say.
It's incredible.
I remember when language learning software was like
Right.
these clunky CD-ROMs that you'd put in your computer.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
And now it's like
Come on, it's like,
this whole interactive world in your pocket.
exactly. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And if you want to take that interaction to the next level,
Okay.
they also recommend finding a language exchange partner.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
I've heard of it, but I've never actually tried it.
Okay, so basically
Ooh.
you find someone who is trying to learn your native language,
Right.
and you agree to help each other.
So you're like
And
swapping
You're swapping skills.
skills. Yeah. So maybe you spend 30 minutes speaking in English with them
Okay,
and then 30 minutes speaking in your native language with them.
I like that.
It's a win-win situation
Yeah,
because you both get to practice
right.
and you get to learn about each other's cultures as well.
Oh, so it's not just language.
It's not just language, it's a cultural exchange too.
Yeah,
And there are so many ways to find language exchange partners online.
really.
There are websites, there are apps,
Cool.
there are even social media groups
Okay.
dedicated to language exchange. Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, definitely do that.
That sounds fun.
And speaking of connecting with other people,
Yeah.
they also talk about the power of online language learning communities.
Okay, so that's kind of like the next level up from language exchange.
Exactly. It's like taking the language exchange idea
Yeah.
and expanding it
Exchange.
to a whole group of people.
Right? Okay.
So there are these amazing online communities
Okay.
full of people from all over the world who
Mhm.
are passionate about learning English.
Cool.
You can find forums.
Okay.
You can find chat rooms.
Yeah.
You can even find online events and workshops.
It's like a global study group,
It is. It's like a global study group.
but way cooler.
Yeah, way cooler.
Yeah.
Because you're connecting with people
Right.
who share your interests,
Yeah.
who are on the same journey as you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn so much from each other.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a great way to find motivation.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because I feel like that's a big part of it, right?
It is a huge part of it.
Like staying motivated when you're learning something new.
Absolutely. It can be tough. It can be really challenging.
Yeah.
And that's why these online communities are so valuable. Because you're not in it alone.
You're like holding each other accountable.
Exactly. Exactly.
wow.
And speaking of holding yourself accountable,
Yeah.
they talk about the importance of goal setting.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't have to be anything super complicated.
Yeah, because I was thinking like,
Yeah.
I'm not a very goal-oriented person.
It doesn't have to be a, like,
Okay.
some big elaborate plan.
Right, yeah.
It can be something as simple as,
Okay.
this week I'm going to learn 5 new words every day.
Okay.
Or this month I'm going to watch 1 English movie.
Got it.
Just small, achievable goals.
Yeah, I like that. Breaking it down.
Yeah, break it down into manageable chunks.
Okay.
And it won't feel so overwhelming.
Right, because I think sometimes it's like
It can be really daunting.
you set these huge goals and then
Ah.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm never going to get there.
And then you just give up. Yeah. So, yeah, small goals are key.
Okay, cool.
And they also emphasize
Hmm.
the importance of rewarding yourself.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, celebrate those small victories.
Yeah, like what kind of rewards are we talking about here?
I mean, it can be anything that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe you treat yourself to your favorite snack, or
Mhm.
you buy yourself a new book,
Oh,
or
no.
you just take a break and do something fun.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you feel good.
Okay, so we're not being too hard on ourselves.
No, be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, language learning is a journey. It's not a race.
Right.
So take your time,
Okay.
enjoy the process,
Got it.
and celebrate those small wins along the way.
I like it.
And speaking of things that are enjoyable,
Okay.
they talk a lot about immersing yourself in English media.
Oh, yeah.
This is where things get really fun.
I was hoping we'd get to this one
Right.
because this is like my favorite way to learn.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, there's just so much great English language content out there.
There's so much. You've
Yeah.
got movies, TV shows, music.
Podcasts, books, everything.
Yeah, it's never ending.
It's amazing.
And the best part is,
Yeah.
we're not even really studying.
Right.
You're just like
You're just enjoying yourself.
enjoying yourself, absorbing the language naturally. So
Right.
you're picking up new vocabulary,
Mhm.
you're getting used to different accents, you're
Mhm.
learning about different cultures.
It's so much better than
Yeah.
just listening to like a language tape on repeat.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so much more engaging.
Yeah.
But they also encourage you to be an active listener.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So don't just have it on in the background.
Right.
Really pay attention to how words are pronounced.
Okay.
Take note of interesting phrases
Mm-hmm.
and try to use those phrases in your own conversations.
So you're like actively trying to incorporate what you're hearing
Exactly.
into your own speech.
Yeah, don't be afraid to steal phrases.
Okay, I like
If you hear something you like,
Yeah.
write it down,
Mm-hmm.
practice it,
Okay,
make it your own.
cool.
And if you come across a word that you don't understand,
Yeah,
look it up.
Okay.
Don't just gloss over it.
got it.
Be curious
Okay,
and use those resources
okay.
we talked about earlier.
Like the apps and stuff.
Yeah, like the apps, like the online dictionaries.
Cool.
Yeah, there's so much out there to
Right.
help you.
So be proactive.
Be proactive.
Got it.
Don't just passively consume,
Right.
actively engage with the language.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and speaking of actively engaging,
Yeah.
they also recommend attending
Go ahead.
English-speaking events and workshops.
Okay, so this is like taking it to the next level.
It is, yeah.
It's like getting out there in the real world.
It's getting out there
Yeah.
and actually using the language
Right.
in a real-world setting.
Okay, like what kind of events are we talking about?
I mean, it could be anything,
Right.
from a casual meetup to a more formal workshop or conference.
Mm.
It really depends on your interests
Right.
and what's available in your area.
Yeah.
But the key is to just get out there
Yep.
and expose yourself to the language.
Yeah, I feel like that can be a little intimidating though.
It can be, but it's
Yeah.
also a really rewarding experience
It's like-
because you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
You're meeting new people.
Mhm.
You're learning new things.
And you might even discover,
Yeah.
some new opportunities
Okay.
that you didn't even know existed.
You never know who you're going to meet
Right.
or what you're going to learn.
It's all about saying yes.
It is. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about embracing those opportunities.
Okay, cool.
And speaking of embracing opportunities. Yeah.
They also talk about
Mhm.
focusing on fluency over accuracy.
Oh, that's an interesting one
Right.
because I'm a total perfectionist.
I get that.
Yeah. When it comes to language, especially.
Yeah.
So what do they mean by that?
So it's a common misconception
Oh,
that you need to be grammatically perfect
right. Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Like every sentence has to be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in reality,
Mhm.
fluency trumps accuracy.
So it's more about just getting your meaning across.
It's about communicating
Yeah.
effectively,
Oh.
even if you make a few grammar mistakes along the way.
So it's like not getting so hung up
Right.
on every little detail.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like I get so caught up in trying to remember the grammar rule
Right.
that I completely lose my train of thought.
You lose the flow of the
Right?
conversation.
Exactly.
So yeah, they encourage you to just
Totally.
let go of that fear.
And just speak.
Got it.
The more you practice,
Hmm.
the more fluent you will become.
Okay.
And the more accurate your grammar will naturally become over time.
It's like building that muscle memory.
Building that muscle memory.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Got it.
Don't be afraid to speak.
Okay.
Just get out there and practice.
Okay.
And speaking of practicing,
Yeah.
they recommend trying to speak English
Mm-hmm.
in different situations.
Okay.
So, not just in the classroom,
Right.
but think about different situations where you might need to use English.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
real world scenario.
Real world scenarios, exactly.
Okay, like what?
So maybe you need to order food at a restaurant.
Right.
Maybe you need to ask for directions.
Okay.
Maybe you need to make a phone call.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to give a presentation at work.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the different situations
Okay.
where you might need to use English.
Yeah, and I guess each one of those is going to use
Kind of a different set of vocabulary.
different vocabulary, different expressions.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to really stretch your language skills.
Right, like to be more adaptable.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
So the more you practice in those different settings,
Yeah.
the more confident and adaptable you will become.
Okay.
And, if you make a mistake,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world.
It's a learning opportunity.
Right, okay.
So just embrace it.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
And speaking of learning from mistakes,
Yeah.
they also emphasize the value of getting feedback
Okay.
from native speakers
Okay, yeah.
or fluent speakers.
Right?
Because they can point out things
Yeah.
that you might not even be aware of.
It's like those subtle things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe you're mispronouncing a certain sound,
Right.
or maybe you're using a grammar structure incorrectly.
Okay.
And they can also give you insights
Mm-hmm.
into how the language is actually used in different contexts. So it's like having a
It's like having a personal language coach.
personal coach.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
So don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Yeah.
If you have a friend
Yeah.
who's a native speaker,
Yeah.
or if you're taking an English class,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to ask your teacher for feedback.
Got it.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to improve.
Okay, cool.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
I know. I can't believe how many tips we've already gotten through.
I know this video is jam-packed
Yeah.
with information.
But we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. We've got more to explore.
All right, let's do it.
Let's dive back in. All right, where were we?
Oh my gosh. I feel like my brain is exploding with all these tips.
I know, right?
There's so much good stuff in here.
It really is incredible. One thing that they talk about that I think is really fascinating is the idea that learning about different cultures can actually help you speak English better.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I wouldn't have immediately thought of that.
Right. It seems kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but when you really think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because language and culture are so intertwined.
Right, yeah.
So you could learn a ton of vocabulary words,
Okay.
but if you don't understand the cultural context in which those words are used,
Yeah.
you could end up using them inappropriately.
Oh, totally. Like, you learn some slang word from a movie,
Right.
but you use it in a business meeting.
Exactly.
It'd be so awkward.
Yeah. It's all about understanding the nuances
Okay.
of how language is actually used by real people in different situations.
That makes sense.
And that's where paying attention to pronunciation comes in, too.
Okay. Yeah. Pronunciation. That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
I mean, English pronunciation is so tricky.
It's notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
But the good news is it's a skill that can be learned.
Okay.
Like anything else, it just takes practice.
Okay.
And they encourage you to listen really closely to how native speakers pronounce words. Pay attention not just to the individual sounds, but also to things like intonation and stress patterns.
So it's like the music of the language.
Exactly. Exactly.
okay.
It's not just about saying the words correctly. It's about saying them with the right rhythm and emphasis.
Got it.
And luckily, there are tons of resources out there that can help you with this.
Okay, cool.
Online pronunciation dictionaries, videos, even apps that can give you feedback on your pronunciation in real time.
Wow, that's amazing. Technology really is amazing for language learning.
It's incredible. Like, you can literally have a pronunciation coach in your pocket.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
It's so cool. Another tip that they give is to learn common phrases and expressions.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
I like this one.
Instead of just learning individual words,
Right.
learn chunks of language that you can use in different situations.
It's like having those prefabricated building blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you don't have to construct every sentence from scratch. You've got these ready-made phrases that you can just plug in.
It's so much faster.
So much faster.
And it makes you sound more natural, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It helps you to internalize the rhythm and flow of the language.
Okay.
Speaking of internalizing, they also make a great point about keeping track of your progress
Okay.
and celebrating your achievements.
Yes. This is huge because I think it's so easy to get discouraged when you're learning a new language.
It's so true. You can feel like you're not making progress fast enough.
Exactly.
But it's so important to acknowledge those small wins along the way.
Okay.
Did you learn 5 new words this week?
Yeah.
Great, celebrate that.
Right?
Did you have a conversation with a native speaker and actually understand what they were saying?
Yeah.
Awesome, celebrate that.
Okay, I like that. It's like giving yourself those little rewards to keep going.
Exactly, exactly. It's all about staying motivated.
Right.
And speaking of staying motivated, one final tip that I thought was really interesting is to attend English-speaking events and workshops.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
This is a great way to take all that practice and knowledge that you've been accumulating
Yeah.
and put it to the test in a real-world environment.
Yeah, like get out there and actually use it.
Exactly, exactly. And there are so many different types of events out there, from casual meetups to more formal workshops and conferences.
Right, yeah.
So there's really something for everyone.
Okay, cool.
And you never know who you'll meet. You could make new friends,
Yeah.
connect with potential mentors or colleagues,
Okay.
even discover new opportunities that you never knew existed.
I love that. It's all about expanding your world.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so we've covered a ton of ground here.
We have.
This video is seriously packed with information.
It is. I'm so glad we did this deep dive.
Me too, me too.
I feel like I've learned so much.
And you know what? It's presented in such an engaging and accessible way.
Yeah. I was expecting it to be kind of like a dry lecture,
Right.
but it wasn't at all.
Not at all. It's really well done.
And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to language learning.
Absolutely.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly, exactly. It's all about finding what resonates with you
Right.
and creating your own personalized practice routine.
I like that.
But-
Personalized. It's not about, following some strict set of rules.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And most importantly, having fun along the way.
Yes, that's huge.
Because if you're not enjoying the process,
Yeah.
you're not going to stick with it.
You're going to give up.
Exactly.
Oh.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you some new ideas and inspiration for your English-speaking journey.
Yeah. Take what you've learned today, tailor it to your own needs and interests, and keep practicing.
Absolutely.